Well, hello. It's the 5th day of August 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. So I do this video every morning to remember my life objectives and principles, and to see how I'm doing applying these to my days, namely yesterday and the coming day. First, last night and yesterday. Slept good. I was up through a few times through the night, but it seems like it's now becoming more a matter of course to sleep till the alarm. That's good, sleeping till the alarm. Still waking up, but sometimes it's just because I have to go to the bathroom. So that's totally fine. But I'm still waking up tired. I need some coffee. I got to bed just a little bit late last night. I think I got nearly a full 8 hours of sleep last night. Did I? 4:30? Anyway, yesterday was a fun day. Yumiko and I went to San Pedro to look at prospective places to live. We found a house that we had looked at before, in fact. It was nice. Maybe we'll try to rent it. We looked at an apartment we liked. And now we might look at some more communities. So, no real challenges, just a good day. Let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are: 1, to be always ready to die, to have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order as best I can, so that I'm always ready to go, and I do. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, so that my life is being spent in a worthwhile manner, and I think I am. Yeah, my days are productive and good, and directed towards activities that I produce a fruitful yield, even if ultimately that yield is nothing. 3 is the development and maintenance. I have to learn to say those things slowly and carefully. It's not the good and effective use of time or the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles. It's the good and effective use of time and the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles. Slowly and carefully enunciating my words clearly. So once again, it's the development, this next principle is the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles. Although yesterday I did a book reading of Johnson that I recorded, and when I watched it back, I was trying to be very careful and slow in my enunciation. It didn't sound right. It didn't sound natural. It didn't sound like me. So maybe that is just my normal speech, but it's okay to speak quickly. It's just not okay to speak carelessly and sloppily, to speed through everything so fast that it's hard to understand. So next is, I didn't dwell on that. The development and maintenance of good and sound life principles is what I'm doing right now when I do my good life meditation. It's when I list, discuss, and change, edit, update, improve the good life creed. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I can react well to what's happening around me, not let life ambush me or cause me to fly off the handle, or to make rash decisions, without, if not good deliberation, at least some opportunity for deliberation. Excuse me. Next is the performance of good actions, just doing good things throughout the day. And then the recognition of true limits and true opportunities. And then a reminder to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. So I guess in trying to get myself to slow down, that's abiding my last objective. So that's a good thing. How did I not see that? All right, now my 32 principles. These are, first, the principle of war, a willingness and an effort to fight against propositions of truth, especially the ones that I've already held on to. Two, the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, where reason is the tool and the instrument that I use to live an objective life, an honest life, and a skeptical life, a life of skepticism. Three is the homunculus, the suggestion that I do have a consciousness that resides between my ears and somewhere seemingly right behind my forehead, and that consciousness will perish with me. There's nothing immortal about anything in me. That comes to the next principle, the Anchorhold, which is a suggestion that the consciousness is trapped in me like a man trapped on a rock sticking out of the sea, a dangerous sea, deep, cold, shark infested perhaps, or infested with nothing. No, I'm not going to write that down. I've got something else. I've already got a title in mind. Basically, though, it's also a matter. The Anchorhold suggests that my consciousness has to weather my life, like that man on the aforementioned rock, weathering it. The storms, the rain, the sun, the dry heat. Interesting. That kind of has some overlap with another principle called that which must be borne. I hadn't seen that till now. Next comes, after the Anchorhold comes that which must be, the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are not absolute in the universe. They are opinions that reside within each of us. Next comes the principle of purpose, and the three sub-principles of biology, virtue, and mission. My purpose in life is, one, first and foremost, to be a good husband and father, to help my daughter raise into an independent adult on her own. Two, virtue, to be a virtuous human being, good man. Three, my mission. My mission is to further the good life creed and to share it through the story of my book. Available on Amazon. Okay, next is atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces that are falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has some particular nature, including things that are alive. And it's good to recognize what that is so that we can in some way abide that nature. Three is the pirate ride. I mean, the next one is not three, but the next one is the pirate ride. The idea that free will is an illusion, a very convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. And then maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and strive to do better. And then the social principle, we are social creatures, we need each other. And then public speaking, a reminder to be very careful about what I say and the words that I use and what I write and the compositions that I make, and to speak very slowly and deliberately and carefully, and also to never ever gossip. Next is it temperance? I think it's temperance is next. Temperance is a reminder to control my consumption, to be very careful about what I consume. Just not too much food or not too much drink, and consuming other things like not too much work and not too much play, not too much sleep, not too much anything. Just moderation for all things. And there are two sub-principles there, suffering and simplicity. Suffering because we suffer when we tell ourselves no because we want an extra helping of something, but we say no because we're going to be temperate. So we suffer. We have to get used to that. And simplicity because a simple life is, by extension, a temperate life. And I just realized something I forgot. I forgot to apply the concept of apathy. Apathy belongs way back in that one objective called the recognition of true limits and true opportunity. When I can recognize my where my limits are, what I can do, I can apply apathy to anything that's outside of it. Because it's like hearing about news on another solar system, for all I'm concerned. You know, it can be interesting, but I'm apathetic in terms of my ability to interact and participate in any of that. There's all kinds of things at which I'm apathetic. I just had a very interesting thought. You know, at work, I have determined that I don't want to become a manager again. And that's because of the use of my time, right? I want to use my free time towards my own personal endeavors, namely my reading and my peace of mind. And when the scope of my control increases as I climb the corporate ladder and take on more responsibility, my area of control increases, and I have to spend more time and diligence and brain power on those things. I don't want to do that. I've got a ton of books over here I want to read that I want to think about. So by remaining a worker bee, it closes my scope of apathy. Oh, wow. That's a good one, but I still want closing the scope of apathy, but I want to use a different title. Going swooping back to Temperance. We just talked about that. After Temperance comes let me get a little help here. Oh yeah, life will not go well. And it won't. And it doesn't mean that it will be bad necessarily. For some of us, it'll be very bad, though. It just simply means that life will not go as we expect. Bumps will happen along the way. That's to be expected. That's the norm. The next one is called the horror show. Lots of terrible things happening all around us and to us. If not right now, it's coming for us. It's good to remember that. I may encounter that now. The title for this video is going to be a welfare check, and I'm going to drive out and check on my mom. I have a very difficult relationship with my mom. I always have, ever since adulthood. I like to think, this is my perspective, that I try to have a relationship with her. I genuinely want to, but I don't think she wants to have a relationship with me. So I don't think she likes me very much. We see the world very differently. She doesn't like the fact that I don't believe in God, and she's very conservative, and I'm not. But in spite of all those things, which I try to avoid talking about those things at all when we're together, which we're not together anymore. In spite of all of that, my mom has a way about her. And the same is true with my brother. Even though my brother is a conservative and does believe in God, in fact, I think he has I know he does. His relationship is even more fraught than mine with my mom. I think it's just the way my mom is. I know that's the case. Even if our beliefs and ideas were in alignment. And it's been like this for decades and decades, just forever. Anyway, so I may, even though she doesn't want me, I reach out to her about every 2 weeks to call her up to see how she's doing. And she's going to outlive me, I'm sure. She seems to be doing very well. And anyway, last night I called her to check on her, and her phone is dead. So I had my brother do the same, and he found the same. So I'm going to drive out this morning to do a welfare check, see how she's doing. And I was thinking last night about it and bracing myself for a horror show. I would have driven out last night, but I was just absolutely exhausted after our trip to San Pedro, and it's a long ways. It's a long drive out. There's been flash floods and storms on the route to get out there. So, and I'm still recovering from my surgery. So I talked about it last night with my wife. I said, I'll just drive out tonight and see how she's doing. And there's another problem. Literally, my mom is armed, and she's very old, and she is hair trigger. I told my brother this too. I said, I think if I arrived at Mom's house after dark and knocked on the door, she might shoot me through the door. And I'm not saying that to be startling. I mean, I've literally, she's done that before. I mean, she shot the gun through the roof of the house. That was the time that I'm referring to, but not through the door. But so all these things aside, Yumiko said, no, you're not in good shape. She'll go in the morning. So I am. As soon as this is done, I'll feed the dogs, walk the dogs. It's 5:10 a.m. right now, and then I'll be on the road. And the reason I'm saying all this is that I'm at the principle called the horror show, which is that awful things happen, and I'm bracing myself for a horror show. I mean, it's been 2 weeks since I talked to her. Heaven knows what happened. She could have fallen down, broken her hip, died of thirst. The dog, and she has 2 little dogs. The 2 little dogs could be emaciated, or, I mean, this is worst case scenario in my mind, right? I'm just imagining it, or, most likely she just didn't pay her damn bill, which is unlike her. But she's old, mid-80s now. And she won't see me anymore. She, refuses to do the COVID tests or COVID vaccine, and what do you do? What do you do? And she doesn't want to see me for the first place. She's told me to stay away. But I mean, so I used to ambush her. I used to be like in the area. I used to drive. This is literally a strategy I had. I would be on my motorcycle. I would go out to that area roughly, and I would call her up and say, hey, I'm in the area. Can I stop by? And now she's very amiable in some ways, and she would latch onto that. And I would be able to drop by her house, take her out to lunch. I would make an excuse to go to the bathroom. I'd walk through the house, just check things out, see if the dogs are good, everything. And then I'd take her to lunch, and we would go have lunch and take it back. And that'd be just about enough. And she'd want me the hell out of her house. But it would work. I did that for years. But I can't do that now because she refuses to do the COVID tests. And I've battled in my mind, what's the right thing to do? Is the right thing to do that ambush thing in spite of that and potentially bring COVID? She remains in seclusion, basically. She just comes out to do the shopping once a week. And do I bring, like the COVID, like Egg Ground's pose, the Mask of the Red Death, Black Death, whatever that book is called, story. So I've decided the last couple of years since COVID, simply that I'll just simply abide her wishes to stay the hell away and just call her up until her phone goes dead. So I'll go out and find out. So I'm bracing myself for a horror show. The next principle is called that which must be borne. And what we have to bear is we have to bear the horror show. We have to bear the fact that life does not go well, etc., etc. Next is the Feast of Offal, which is what happens when we get upset and let our upset blast out into the world and upset others in their turn. The next is the principle of distraction. We distract ourselves with our work and our jobs and our homes and our families and our hobbies and our sports and our church. And we do that so that we don't have to see the great indifference, which is the emptiness of the universe. And that's the next principle. Then is the best seat in the house. Do not want to be anyone else, be anyone else, or be doing anything else. Then the path of wildness, which is the way upward and forward into and through new life. And then the risk of avoiding risk, the deep and surface level risks of life. The surface level stuff is the risks of education, career, spouse, home, family, security. The deep risk is the risk of not taking the time to find ourselves, so to speak. There is something to that. And having a great life adventure. Oh, and I think I'm missing some here. Yeah, there's some new principles. This is an old copy of the book. There's some new principles. I forgot to include the Restless Man between the best seat in the house and the Path of Wildness. The Restless Man is this anxiousness that we feel throughout life to want something else, want something more. I think that was it. And then the sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. They're related to believing things too soon, believing things, being untrue, believing things that are untrue, or gossiping. And then complete oblivion, without a soul and without any gods to look after us, no afterlife, then we're stuck with the fact that we're not going to have a we're not going to have a reunion with the ones we love. We won't have any chance to reconcile with them, and we won't have a chance to see any final justice served. So we better attend to those things in the here and now. Then comes the season of philosophy, which is a time of life to record what we've learned through life. Then the bullseye aim, reminder that we shoot for the mark, but we usually miss. And then the uphill climb. Life is a steady uphill. I almost wanted to say drudge. It feels that way sometimes. It's like climbing Mount Fuji, step, step, step. It seems to go on forever. I've never climbed Mount Fuji, but my wife tells me it's like that. But every time we turn around, the view gets better. And then arena and utility. Life is this arena for the utilization of our principles towards the aims, which are our objectives. And then nothing is enough, a suggestion towards abstinence. And then finally, the principle of fun, a reminder to try to enjoy life now and enjoy the memory of our past and the anticipation of the future. Hope does have some purpose in this, in our lives. All right, that's it. And I think you've already heard my plan for the day. Finish, upload this, read my Bible, feed the dogs, walk the dogs, get in the car, go do a welfare check on my mom. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.